This is FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. Get ready for the latest in film news, TV show news, and theatrical reviews. FilmBook's podcast starts now.
Welcome to FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. My name is Chris Banks. If you're tuning in for the first time, what I do on FilmBookCast, I discuss the latest film and TV show news. I also review an in-theater film. You can find more about FilmBookCast on film-book.com by using the search term FilmBookCast. You can also email us at podcast@film-book.com with FilmBookCast in the subject line. Let's switch up gears and check out some TV news from this week. Deadline brought us a report that Lawrence Kao has joined the Walker prequel pilot, Walker Independence. It's set in the late 1800s. It follows Abby Walker, an affluent Bostonian whose husband is murdered before her eyes while on their journey out west. On her quest for revenge, Abby crosses paths with Hoyt Rowlands, a lovable rogue in search of purpose. Kai will play a character named Kai, described as a younger Chinese man with a kind face, fluent in English. A former railroad worker, Kai is settled into his new life in Independence, where he meets Abby. He quickly befriends Abby, and will join the previously announced cast of Matt Barr, Justin Johnson, and many, many others. The Walker Independence pilot is being directed by Larry Kegg, and CBS Studios is behind the project. Some more exciting TV news that came out this week. Golden Globe winner Rami Youssef of Mr. Robot has officially signed a first look deal with Amazon Studios. He's set to create and executive produce an adult animated comedy series centering around a Muslim American family. Rami is a very important filmmaker, and it's a very exciting piece of news that him and Amazon are working together, and it's also going to be incorporated under the A24 banner. Very exciting TV news. The last bit of TV news we'll check out this week, according to Variety, Olivia Rose Keegan, Navia Robinson, and Oscar Morgan have been tapped for series regular roles in CW's upcoming Gotham Knights pilot. It's expected to start shooting in April. It is written and executive produced by Natalie Abrams and Chad Fivehash and James Storix. It's based on the DC comic characters that were created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. We'll keep up with news about the Gotham Knights pilot. Exciting casting news. Now let's check out some film news from this week. The Hollywood Reporter reported that Oscar nominee Sean Levy is in talks to direct Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds reprising his role. The pair recently worked together on Free Guy and The Atom Project. The script for Deadpool 3 is being written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. It'll serve as the first movie in the series that will be released following Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox. There's no release date set for Deadpool 3, but exciting news is anytime Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds works together, we'll take it. Switching up gears, some disappointing news for Cardi B fans, as Deadline reported this week that she's left the upcoming Paramount picture Assisted Living. Cardi B's departure comes over a year after she joined the project, and the studio told everybody in the cast and crew that the production is effectively canceled for the time being. Assisted Living was to follow Cardi B's Amber, a small-time crook who finds herself in over her head as a heist goes wrong. Running out of options, Amber disguises herself as an elderly woman and hides out in the one place no one will look, her estranged grandmother's nursing home. Disappointing news that Cardi B will no longer be on the project, and I feel bad for everybody associated with the movie, but hopefully they find a new lead actor and the movie can be made. It gives us a lot of Sister Act, Mrs. Doubtfire vibes. Wrapping up the weekend film news is some exciting news, as Elvis star Austin Butler is in negotiations to play the villainous Fade Rutha in Dune Part 2, The Hollywood Reporter reported this week. The character is the cunning nephew of the Baron who leads the Harkonnen. Butler would join a tremendous cast, and Dune Part 2 would have an unbelievable hype machine behind it. We'll keep up with news if this casting ends up happening, because Dune Part 2 is going to be one of the biggest movies in American cinema. It's set to be released October 20th, 2023. That's it for film news. This week in DVD home releases features Agnes. A nun's disturbing behavior sparks rumors of demonic possession at a remote convent. When a priest in waiting and his delusioned mentor are set to investigate, their methods backfire, leaving a wake of terror and trauma. Agnes got a 65 Metascore and is now available on DVD. The Matrix Resurrections is now available on DVD. A return to a world of two realities, one everyday life, the other what lies behind it. To find out if his reality is a physical or mental construct, Mr. Anderson will have to choose to follow the White Rabbit once more. But what he doesn't know yet is the Matrix is stronger, more secure, and more dangerous than ever before. The Matrix Resurrections got a 63 Metascore and is now available on DVD. Coming to America is now available on DVD. Set in the lush and royal county of Zumanda, newly crowned King Ahmed and his trusted confidant Semi embark on an all-new hilarious adventure that has them traversing the globe from their great African nation to the borough of Queens, New York, where it all began. Coming to America has a 52 Metascore and is now available on DVD. A Journal for Jordan is now available on DVD. First Sergeant Charles Monroe King, a soldier deployed to Iraq who begins to keep a journal of love and advice for his infant son. Back at home, senior New York Times editor Dana Carnegie revisits the story of her unlikely life-altering relationship with King and his enduring devotion to her child and her. A sweeping account of a once-in-a-lifetime love. A Journal for Jordan is a powerful reminder of the importance of family. A Journal for Jordan got a 42 Metascore and is now available on DVD. That's it for DVD home releases from this week. This week in TV trailers gives us the last season of Better Call Saul. It's extremely dark and it's tension-filled. And it does nothing to reassure us that Kim is alive and well and anywhere near Albuquerque when it's all said and done with Saul. Check out the trailer for Better Call Saul Season 6. It'll debut on AMC April 18th. Another trailer that came out this week is a supernatural mystery western coming to Amazon Prime on April 15th. It stars Josh Brolin, and the series is titled Outer Ranger. It just debuted its trailer. It just gives me a very eerie supernatural vibes. I've never really seen a TV series like this. Check out the trailer for Outer Ranger. It'll be on Amazon Prime April 15th. The last TV trailer we'll talk about this week is the first glimpse that we've gotten of the new Bosch spin-off series. It's called Bosch Legacy. It's Harry Bosch beginning a new chapter as a private investigator with his daughter Maddie, who gets into the family business as a rookie patrol officer. Check out the trailer for Bosch Legacy. It'll debut on May 6th on IMDb TV. That's it for TV trailers. This week in movie trailers is actually a hilarious Nick Cage movie. The film title is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It stars Nicolas Cage, Pedro Pascal. The film trailer shows he struggles. Nick Cage plays a version of himself, and he struggles with the current state of his acting career. And it shows what led him to accept a $1 million appearance deal where he must attend a party to meet his biggest fan, who's played by Pedro Pascal. The film will debut in theaters April 22nd, and check out the trailer. It's really funny. Check out the trailer for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It'll debut in theaters April 22nd. Another film trailer that debuted this week is a film titled Moonshot. It's exclusively on HBO Max. Moonshot stars Cole Sprouse, Lana Condor, Mason Gooding, Emily Rudd. Like many 20-somethings her age, Sophie is faced with a world of choices. And this movie is about falling in love on a different planet. Check out the trailer for Moonshot. It'll debut on HBO Max March 31st. The last movie trailer we'll check out this week is actually from Game of Thrones creator Davey Weiss and David Benioff. It's set to start streaming April 8th. It's on Netflix. The film title is Metal Lord. The trailer is it features a 2-member metal band, and they try to search for a bassist in order to qualify for an upcoming battle of the bands. It's like a coming-of-age comedy film. Check out the trailer for Metal Lords. It'll be on Netflix April 8th. All right, time for this week's movie review. For this week's movie review, we have to talk about The Batman. Directed by Matt Reeves, it stars Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, John Turturro, Colin Farrell, Peter Sarsgaard, Andy Serkis. Batman ventures into Gotham City's underworld when a sadistic killer leaves behind a trail of cryptic clues. As evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of the perpetrator's plans become clear, Batman must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption corruption that has long plagued Gotham. Matt Reeves' previous work includes Cloverfield, Let Me In, Planet of the Apes franchise. I was fascinated, and Robert Pattinson, we got to know Robert Pattinson. We began to know Robert Pattinson in Twilight and watched him do a bunch of, art house, really good independent movies. But Robert Pattinson is a very unique movie star to play Batman. So going into this movie, I was very excited, and I think we all were excited, and we all anticipated what this kind of Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, we got the Penguin in there, what does this mix really look like? I'm happy to report that The Batman is one of the best movies I've seen coming out of the American cinema. The last movie that got me this excited was Dune, and it's unlike any other superhero movie I've ever seen. I think it's the most unique superhero movie ever made. I think that the way that Matt chose to incorporate certain elements of our today in the story really makes for a more poignant and fulfilling story. Robert Pattinson plays an extremely unique Bruce Wayne, almost a broken person, and we never really see Bruce Wayne as that. I mean, we know that he experiences early childhood trauma. We know that he, has a lust for vengeance in a way, but we've never seen it packaged or presented the way that Matt Reeves does in The Batman. Deeply psychological. The comparisons to the Zodiac is appropriate because the film feels like a suspense drama, serial killer movie. It does not feel like a superhero movie, which is why when it becomes a superhero movie, it's a lot more powerful and it carries a lot more punch. It carries big punches. The cinematography of The Batman is unbelievable. There are certain shots that are up there with the best cinematography that I've ever seen in a theater. I saw it in IMAX. I highly recommend everybody to see it in IMAX. There's certain shots that are simply unbelievable. I'm not going to give away anything in the movie, but there's a certain shot in the movie where we see Batman and the only thing lighting the scene are gunfire. I listened to a podcast of Matt Reeves talking about how he made this movie, and the gunfire in that shot is real. It's real blanks being fired, lighting a scene that honestly makes for one of the most powerful frames of any movie that I've ever seen. So for this to be the container in which we're getting the newest edition of a Batman installment is just unbelievable. It's tremendous. The story, what Batman's doing, how he's gotten here, why he's so dark, why Robert Pattinson's version of Bruce Wayne is so dark, is fleshed out in such an appropriate way. It's such a modern context. The Riddler is terrifying in how he is so relevant today. This is what terror is. Pain is the new terror. Pain is the new fear. Pain is used as a weapon today because it can be easily wrapped up into technology and unleashed upon the world. And the Riddler is an incredibly modern villain. I've never seen a villain that encompasses so much of our political, social anxieties, and he does it in such a good way. Paul Dano deserves so much credit for how he presents the Riddler and how he incorporates different, psychological truths and experiences. And he was an orphan and Bruce Wayne was an orphan, and it's just brilliantly done. Colin Farrell as the Penguin is breathtaking. I've almost never seen a performance as jaw-dropping as Colin Farrell as the Penguin, because you don't know it's Colin Farrell. Unless for certain tiny little facial movements is the only way you know that it's Colin Farrell. The chase scene between the Penguin and Batman is one of the most iconic scenes, I think, in cinema history. It's going to go down as that because of the framing of certain shots. Zoe Kravitz deserves so much credit playing Selina. She did such a good job. She's so fierce and she's gorgeous, and she just brings a grounded sense of vengeance to a story that is really about justice. And I love how they incorporate the struggle between vengeance and justice, and how the pain that we all go through in life, really pulls us into one direction or the other. And whether we heal that pain, the experiences that we go through in life, the pain we experience pull us in either direction, whether we heal ourselves. And Batman mentions at the end of the movie that he has to become bigger. The dark dark omnipresence of his mood is throughout the whole film. And it's just an overall incredible... I could talk about this movie for an hour, but I'm going to keep it relatively short like all of my reviews, and I won't give away what happens in the film. But all I can say is that I think it's a 9.5 or 10 out of 10. It's a fantastic film. It's modern. Matt Reeves is brilliant. Robert Pattinson, what he brings to Bruce Wayne is brilliant. The fact that Robert Pattinson can be a Bruce Wayne without, while embracing these sensitivities and these vulnerabilities and the pain that we all go through and the relationship that he has with that young boy in the film is absolutely beautiful. There's nothing better than going through life and understanding how we experience the pain that we experienced and why we went through that and who is responsible for that and how we're going to move on with our lives and do better and be more. And Batman mentions this at the end of the film, how he has to be more. He has to stop being so cynical. And it's a great lesson for us all. I think we all have to stop being so cynical. We have to stop suffering we have to stop ourselves from suffering. And the only way we stop ourselves from suffering is by focusing on justice and focusing on growth and learning and love. We won't love if we just hurt because we're hurt. And it's a great lesson for kids. It's a great lesson for everybody. It's a great superhero movie. It's a great movie. It's a great film. Robert Pattinson deserves a ton of credit. Matt Reeves deserves a ton of credit. Colin Farrell, Zoe Kravitz, everybody in this film. Absolutely incredible job. Go see The Batman. It's a 10 out of 10. I have no bad thing to say about this movie. Nothing to critique. It's its own brilliant piece of work. And I hope you like it as much as I did. Thanks so much for checking us out this week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of FilmBookCast. You can find more of my work on film-book.com. Just search for Chris Banks or FilmBookCast. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm at cbanksy. That's S-E-E Banksy. I'm also on Instagram at @TheChrisBanks. If you listen to this podcast on iTunes or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're listening to this podcast on our YouTube channel, FilmBook Podcast, please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment in the comment section. It really helps other people discover our podcast. Please also consider becoming one of our patrons on Patreon at patreon.com/filmbook. Your support really helps us create more engaging content. You'll find our Patreon link below in the description. If you want to tweet about this podcast, just use the hashtag FilmBookCast. Tune in next week for the next episode of the FilmBookCast. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you then.